This tutorial is going to be for the subtractive modeling for 1.2.2. So again, we are not completing this portion here for subtractive. Instead, we're actually going to be doing this and removing each of these sections here. And I am going to show you two different ways that you could do this, just to show you that there is more than one way to create the same outcome, even with the same type of modeling of, in this case, subtractive. So what we're going to do is start again on the top view. So I'm going to hide the front and the right, create a sketch on the top view. Then I'm going to click on top on my cube over here on the right so that I can center my plane on my screen. So we're going to do a center point rectangle, which you can also just tap or click, I should say, R on your keyboard. So we're starting from the origin. Remember, just click, move your mouse, click again, and you can start typing in your numbers. So on the bottom, where my box currently is, we're going to do 3.5. Enter, and then it brings up the other dimension over there, and this one is going to be 2.5. And here we have our dimensions. So again, just clicking escape on our keyboard to get our mouse back. So we can hit the check mark. And now we're going to extrude our shape here. And just so you can see it actually extruding, I'm going to go into that 3D view. And this is going to be a height in this case rather than depth, but 3. Hit the check mark, and if you go back, you can have it center that object right in the center for you. Now, on the example over here, this was created on the front view with the height and the width already done, instead of what we did being on the top view doing the width and the depth. So then their extrusion was for, go back to here, pulling it forward instead of what we did of pulling it up. So we did the height of 3 where they had to do the 2.5 here. So two different ways you can even start with that full shape. So now we're going to move on to creating that other portion. So that first little hole there. So that's on the top. So we're going to start focusing on this portion. So this little extrusion down here. So sketch, we're going to select the top, just like we did in the additive, but this time we're going to be going down. And for this one, we want a corner rectangle. I'm going to select my top view so I can see it better. And we're going to want to click the bottom right corner because we're not going to go fully back to this corner, and it's easier than selecting it here because our dimension is going to go past the midpoint here. So we're going to select the bottom right corner. And we want a width of 2.5, but again, we can just really create a rectangle here like we did originally, and then type in our dimensions. So we want 2.5 here. And then for that portion, we want 2. There we go. 2. Hit escape. Move your dimensions out a little bit and go back to that isometric view. So now we can see here we have the rectangle. We can finish our sketch and now extrude. And we just want to select this portion here, not anywhere else. This is what we want to extrude down. So here, notice how it's automatically adding up. So you can either drag this down so that it creates a remove, or you can just select remove so that it then knows to go down. So for this, we want a depth of 0.5. Enter. And now we have this portion, which in this example, they instead did it on the front, so the 2.5 and what we did down of 0.5. And then their extrusion was subtracting it in versus us subtracting it down. So the same dimension of 2, so their extrusion was 2, which is what we did, 2 by 2.5, and they did a half by 2.5. So again, another way to create the exact same outcome, still using subtractive modeling. So now we're going to do the portion here, this whole section minus the circle. We'll get to that in a bit. So we're going to create a sketch again. We want to do it on this face now because we don't want to do it from up here. We want to start it here and keep working our way down. So notice sketch 3, if you go from the front, it should look like it crosses through here, your shape, and it should not be from up top here, okay? Come back here. Actually, I'm going to go to the top. And we're going to do another corner rectangle, which you can just click G on your keyboard, and we're going to again start from the bottom right corner. So this one, again, just create your rectangle, and now we'll type in the dimensions. This one is going to be 2 for the bottom, and the height is going to be 1.5. Escape on your keyboard to get out of making rectangles, and I just want both of these to be outside of our shape here as per the dimensioning guidelines. And I'm going to go back to my 3D view, hit the check mark, and now I'm going to extrude this down so that we have this portion here. So extrude, click on now this portion, nowhere else. So the rectangle that we just made. And this is going to be 1, so you don't even have to do anything except for clicking remove. That way it brings the one down versus up. And now you can see it's starting to look just like this one. So we can zoom it in a little more and you can see that now it looks like the same size. Okay, so now we just have to make the circle that goes here. But again, for this portion, so this is sketch 3. So again, they added it on the face here. So the depth of 1 that we did for our extrusion and the dimension of 2 that we did for our rectangle that we drew. And then their extrusion 3 was subtracting it in the 1.5 that we originally did for our rectangle so that we could subtract down versus in. So now the final sketch is going to be for that circle. So sketch, and finally we're selecting the last little bit we have here. I'm going to go back to my top view so that I can see it better and zoom in a bit. And this part's going to look very similar to the example we've been referring back to, simply because there's really only one way to do the circle and extrude it, especially since this is the last portion. So we're just going to do a center point circle. So just select somewhere on here in this little kind of like grayish blue area, because this is where we're creating our sketch, and we'll do the dimensions and everything later. So the diameter is going to be 1. I'm going to hit escape because I don't want to make any more circles. And we just want to have this drag outside here. Again, as per our dimensioning guidelines. Now we're going to set up where the circle is placed from the center to the bottom here and the center to the right. So we're going to go to our dimension tool now, which is right here. You can also click D on your keyboard. So from the center of the circle, we're going to start with the bottom here. So keep moving your mouse down until you see the bottom line here turn orange. And this is going to be 0.75. So it should shift it up if you put yours in the same spot as mine. And then this time we do want to keep the plus sign, so we're not going to hit escape. And this is going to be from the center to the right side. And this is going to be 1 inch. So we should have from the center to the right is 1. From the center to the bottom is 0.75. Diameter is 1. We can now hit escape. You can hit the check mark. This is done with sketch number 4, which is that circle. So we can see it here. we want to extrude this circle. Again, we want to remove. And from here, we want it to go all the way through. So instead of having to type in a dimension, we can just do through all, and it brings it through the entire object. So if I was to look underneath, I can see directly through the hole on the bottom here. You can hit the check mark and then make it back in that isometric view. And now our subtractive model here, the example, looks exactly like the one we have now completed. So your subtractive model is now done.